There's a new model in town, or rather, there's an entire family of models in town. OpenAI just announced the release of GPT 5.6 with 3 different models: Sol, Terra, and Luna. But that's not even the biggest news. They announced a new desktop app called Work. I think this is a nod to Claude's Cowork app, but OpenAI did something with their Work app that Claude still hasn't done. This just might be the thing that will get me to switch from Claude back to Codex. I know. So OpenAI just released their family of models: Sol, Terra, and Luna, the sun, the earth, and the moon. And their flagship model, Sol, is really meant to be a competitor to the new Fable 5 from Anthropic. Terra is sort of the everyday middle model. This you could think of as a comparison to kind of Opus. And even OpenAI is saying that the Terra model is kind of on par with GPT 5.5, except they've added some of the enhancements: better design, some better reasoning, better scientific skills, etc. And then finally, their small and fast model is called Luna, and this would sort of be in competition with Sonnet. And so even in their official announcement, OpenAI is talking about how much cheaper these models are to run. They, of course, are maintaining that Sol is a better model than Fable 5, and they're saying even at medium reasoning, it beats Fable 5 by 11.4 points at roughly 1/4 the estimated cost. Sol with max reasoning comes within 1 point of Fable 5 while completing tasks in 61% less time at roughly half the estimated cost. So that estimated cost savings is kind of crazy, but the time savings, that's real. If that holds up in practice, I am going to be very interested in working with this model. Now, they definitely go on to publish some other results, including some really good results on that agent's last exam. They did mention some failings as well. The Swebench Pro, the Sol model did not perform as well as the Fable model, but apparently they are calling this benchmark test broken, or at least 30% broken. Everybody has their favorite, and of course, every company is going to report the one that is best for them. But I think it's fair to say that the new Sol model is going to be quite performant. But OpenAI actually announced something else today, and I think that's actually the real story here. They announced a new desktop app that they are calling Work, ChatGPT Work. So they are saying it's currently only available for Mac users. Along with this announcement, and this got a little bit confusing, I don't feel like they did a very good job clarifying this, there is a mobile version of Work as well as a web version of Work. It does mention that those 2 versions will be rolling out to Plus Pro, Business, Enterprise, and EDU over the next few days. So this is actually what I want to talk about today. All right, so if you're already familiar with the ChatGPT Codex desktop app, you'll find this very familiar looking. In fact, you'll find this so familiar looking that when you go to install the new Codex Work desktop app, you might be a little bit confused as to why it doesn't install. And that's because if you already have the Codex app installed, all you need to do is update your app, and you now have the Codex Work app. And at first glance, you might think this is literally the app that you already had. Up here, hiding in this little drop-down menu, there is the Work app. So I think what they've done is they've tried to separate these 2 kind of distinct yet married products, because what Work does is very similar to Codex. It lets you access files on your computer. Not only that, it gives you access to computer use, which Codex has gotten really good at. If you haven't tried it, definitely give that a shot. So that was point of confusion number 1, the fact that both of those apps are alive and well in the same app. The other thing that's worth noting is when you update your app or install this, you will have the option of which icon to use for your dock. You can either continue to use the Codex app if that's familiar to you and that's what you're going to reach for, or you can switch it over to the OpenAI logo. You can always change this in settings later. The next thing that they did, which is fantastic, now this is only available if you're on a paid subscription, I think starting at the pro level and up, that's the $20 and up, is you get access to mobile and web. And mobile, let me tell you, this is what I have been waiting for. So I did have to go into my ChatGPT app on my phone, and it asked if I wanted to connect. It said I had to go find a code in the Codex app, on the Work app. It actually took a little bit of hunting to find that. I finally had to search in the settings to find that setting to pair my phone with the Codex app. But once I found that and I was able to pair my phone, everything was up and running. So I started a new work project. And I just went in, started a brand new project with a brand new file, and I just asked it to create a document, as one does, about why a Cobb salad is the best salad. You can actually see on the phone the reflection of what the work project is doing. And you can see them in tandem. You can see it working from both views. Now, once that was done, and it did take a little while to finish, I was able to pull up the document on my phone. That to me is something that has been sorely missing from my Claude remote apps and my Codex remote control views. The other thing I was able to do was ask it to create an image and alter the document from my phone, and that was reflected, of course, on my desktop app as well. And so it is worth noting that Work does have full access to the image model, so you can create images to use them for your websites or your documents or whatever. So then I spent a little bit of time in the app trying to figure out what the difference was between Work and Codex, because as far as I could tell, they looked almost identical. And they didn't mention anything in the announcement today. I couldn't really find anything in the documentation. But finally, over here in the side panel, I noticed if I was in ChatGPT Work mode, the options in the side panel were Files, Side Task, and Browser. But if I flip over to Codex, which they're saying is for developers, they add terminal access. Okay, so that's a clue that there's a little bit something different going on. It is worth noting, though, that if you are in Work, you don't have that terminal access. You do still have access to that bottom drawer. You can still open a terminal down here, even though you're in Work. Okay, so that might be kind of handy. The other thing, though, and this is a little bit bigger of a deal, if you're in Work and you type the / command, you will have a slightly different menu than you would if you were in Codex. So if I flip back over to Codex, you can see I have code review options here. So I have a feeling there is a little bit more going on under the covers here, but it is not immediately clear. So I will say, because these two different modes look so identical, if you find yourself working on a project and you suddenly are missing access to something that you think you should have access to, I would say this is the first thing that you should check. Now, there have been reports, some people have said that other features are kind of missing or have moved or gotten hidden. So it is also entirely possible that the thing you're looking for got moved. So I do expect a couple of hiccups along the way. But overall, I am actually really excited about this change, mainly for that mobile access. I love the fact that I can go in and just check on my files. Very often I'm working in sort of a brainstorming way and I'm having the agent write a bunch of files or do some research for me. So it's really nice to be able to remotely come in and just open the file that I'm looking for to grab a quick piece of information if I don't want to ask the agent. So to me, that is the biggest deal of this announcement. And I feel like they kind of buried it, to be honest. All right, so just a couple of other quick mentions. One of the things they talked about was a leap forward in design with this model. I will say they say that every single time that a new model releases, and I find that it's true to varying degrees. I haven't really gotten a chance to test it out, so I will be doing that in the coming days. I should also say I don't yet have access to the Sol model. I should have it on my plan, but they are saying that's going to be rolling out eventually, so I expect in the next day or two I will have access to that. So once again, the desktop app is available to everyone starting today. If you want access to Work through the web or through mobile, you do need a paid subscription. And then, of course, is the pricing. OpenAI does claim that the combination of the actual pricing of tokens and then the efficiency of the tokens puts their models at a huge discount to Anthropic. And you can see that just on their base token rate. This is price per million tokens. So Sol is 5 in, 30 out compared to 10 in, 50 out. The middle model is 2.5, 15 compared to 5, 25. And then their everyday model is 1 in 6 compared to 3 and 15. That's already a pretty big discount. But the other piece of it is the way they're pricing their prompt caching. Now, I'm going to release another video where I'm going to talk about prompt caching a little bit more and why that adds to the cost and what exactly it is. I was in the middle of editing that video when this announcement came out. So hit subscribe if you're interested in watching that when it comes out, and hopefully that'll be in the next couple of days. But it actually makes a bigger difference than I realized. And they actually talked about several other things in their live stream today. Some of them have been released for a little while now. They talked about GPT Live, which is their voice model that now runs on full duplex. And they had a demonstration where they were translating from English to Japanese and then Japanese back to English both ways. Now, they did have a little glitch when they tried to run it after a little while of the two speakers talking to each other and the model translating. It did glitch out and started only speaking in Japanese, so they did have to start over. So they've got a couple of bugs to work out, but it was pretty impressive that it even had the capability to go on as long as it did. Patch the Planet is sort of their equivalent to Project Glasswing, where they've released their GPT 5.6 cyber model to a bunch of companies so they can take a look at their own code base and fix any bugs in advance of public release. They've released a ton of new plugins. And of course, this model was held up by the US government the same way that the Fable model was. So there was that. But we do have access to it now. And they are not currently saying this is limited release. They're just saying we have access to it starting on the Pro plan. So I think that's good news. So I'll leave a link in the description below, both with the announcement and where you can go download the GPT Work app. I'm going to have trouble remembering that name for a little while, where you can go download the GPT Work app if you don't already have Codex installed and just go start playing with it, which I highly recommend you do, because if you haven't worked like this before, the ability to use an AI model on your computer with access to your files in your computer is really game-changing. All right, that's it for today. Just a quick overview of what was announced today on the GPT live stream. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.